I'm just picking around and practicing tonight. I want to talk a little bit about my lap steel. This is a 6-string lap steel that I'm playing, and it's tuned to E7th. And what that means is it's really hard to get minor chords. No, I'm just kidding. But it is a great tuning. It's a very major sounding tuning. So you can do things like this. The E7th is starting at the very low. It's B. So the lowest string, my 6th string is B, D, E, G sharp, then another B, then an E. So my highest string is on an E9th tuning. It's the 4th string. That E is my highest string. But what's cool about this tuning is you can get some pedal steel sounds out of it because these grips are very, pedal steel-ish. Kind of that vamp lick that you get in pedal steel. And of course, your grips on strings 1, 2, and 3. And then you can lower it, so you can do the E knee lever lower. So I don't have any knee levers or pedals. I'm just rolling the bar back. So you can do a lot of neat things with this tuning. But let me show you something really neat about it. Let me lower my D string to a C sharp. So now my D string is down to a C sharp. You hear that minor chord coming there? It's now hard to get. No problem. So it's my lowest string, my 6th string, my thickest string is a B. The next string up is a D. The next string up is an E, and then G sharp, B, and E. So B, D, E, G sharp, B, and then E. But right now I've got my, what would be my D string. Yep, you got it. That's it. B, D, E, G sharp, B, E. So that's E7th tuning, and it's an old tuning. But now right now, what I'm doing is I'm lowering my D string to a C sharp. So you can go from E7th to E6th really easily just by lowering that D down to C sharp. You can now get minor chords. So let's take a song. Let me show you how that works. Let me take a song here, and we'll actually work through what that sounds like. Let me find my chart here. So let's take a song like "What a Wonderful World" in the key of C. So I have to go to my E minor there. So when you have a song that has minor chords, for me, it's easier to fluctuate. Now, I will say this. For me personally, it's easier to stay in E6th and get seventh chords than it is to be in E7th and get minor chords. And an example of that's in a line that I just played where it says, I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for. Then I got to get an E7th. So I slant my bar forward at the 12th fret. Me and you slide down to my A minor, and I think to myself, A flat. What a wonderful world. Now see, with this tuning, I'm having to do a lot of bar slants to get those pedal steel sounds, which, you know, at first it's a little bit of a chore, but it kind of becomes second nature. I actually have trouble thinking about pedals now when I'm actually pushing them because I'm so used to slanting the bar. So when I do things like that, let's take a song like The Waltz You Saved for Me. That's another one where you've almost got to have those slants to get that old Bud Isaac style sound. Run through that again. So in that example, I was down in the E6th tuning. So I'm actually in Mississippi. I am actually located in northeast Mississippi. So I'm not too far from Kentucky land, from the bluegrass state. But I am in Mississippi, born and raised. This tuning, when I'm in it, there are limitations. If you've ever heard of C diatonic tuning, you know that there's, you probably hear my dog in the background barking. If you've ever heard of C diatonic tuning, it's great for pedal steel emulation, but don't be fooled. There's a lot of pedal steel emulation in the many other lap steel tunings. You have to get a little creative sometime. But the E7th tuning, here's what I really like about it. And for this demonstration, I'm going to go back up to D on my low string here. I'll tune it back up to a D from a C sharp. So here's what I want to show you. So if you're a guitar player, it lines up really well with the guitar fretboard. So at your 5th fret, because we're in E7th, but we're in E. This tune is very similar to an E major tuning, so we're in E. If you're at the 5th fret, and I strum either strings 1, 2, and 3, 2, 3, and 4, or if I go all the way down and grab 3, 4, and 6, I've got an A chord. So I'm at the 5th fret, so I'm in A. If I'm open, all E. 1st fret, F, 3rd fret, G. So Another thing about that, I said it lines up with the guitar fretboard. It does, but it also really lines up with the pedal steel fretboard. If you're in the key of E, or if you're like a lot of folks like me, and you play pedal steel drop down into D tuning, whether it be D13th or D ninth, I play in D ninth. Um, you're just 2 frets behind. So, you know, your G would be at the 5th fret instead of the 3rd fret. So it's easy to transpose that. This lap steel tuning though has helped me to go places, because before this I was having trouble wrapping my mind around some of the concepts of what the fretboard, how it lays out, how it works. Now I feel pretty comfortable with it. Now it's just 6 strings, no pedals, no knee levers. So yeah, the creativity department can be a little required if you want to really get places, but it's a lot of fun. But another cool thing is your 7th chord. So that's a big part of the E7 tuning. Whatever fret you're at. So if you're at the 12th fret, which is an E, E7. 3rd fret, which is G, G7. So, you know, it's thankfully this tuning's not rocket science, and I am I am glad for that. I tried major tunings. I tried E major, D major. I liked them, but I didn't really know what to do with that really low string. It kind of threw me off a little bit. Don't know why, but I think just because this tuning relates just a little closer to pedal steel and guitar, I think it just made a little more sense. But it's fun. I mean, it's not a limiting tuning. And it's just like a while ago when I did Waltz You Say For Me, I was technically in E6. Now, let me clarify. When you see E6 mentioned, you're probably going to see it in reference to the Don Helms E6, which has a high G sharp string. I don't have a high G sharp. My high string is an E. Why do I not? Well, number one, I didn't know what to do with it. Just being honest. But it was a little thin sounding, and my guitar is a long scale, so this lap steel is about 24, and I think it's actually 24 and a fourth, which is the same scale length as a pedal steel. But in the lap steel world, that's a little long, and I just didn't like the way it felt. I don't know. I'm just strange like that. But with Waltz You Say For Me, I played it while going to E6, but when I got to this part, it doesn't really matter if you're in E6 or 7th. You can still kind of do that open strum. So you're not really affecting yourself whether you're playing a 6th chord or a 7th chord. You know, I'm no music major, so for me to say they're interchangeable, just take that with a grain of salt. But at least on the songs that I'm playing here, they are. So I definitely I do that a lot. Sometimes I'll leave them, you know, but it's yeah, C diatonic is kind of weird. Jerry Bird though, Jerry Bird had a vision that I think a lot of folks, um, you know, couldn't catch up with. I think Jerry Bird was well ahead of his time, and I mean, I really hate that. I really hate that Nashville kind of put him out. I mean, if you listen to songs like Furlin Huskies, Next to Jimmy, you know, he had a pedal steel sound on that was, I mean, to me, it was just as good as anything else coming. I'm not knocking, you know, the people that were coming up in the ranks then, like Pete Drake and Lloyd Graham, and they fantastic in their own right. But Jerry Bird still had a tone that was super. And if you ever watch, I'll tell you another great one is the old Bobby Lord shows where I believe there's a version where he and Jim Glazer do a song called "Thanks a Lot for Trying Anyway," and Jerry Bird was in the, I guess you would call it the staff band on that show, and I mean his playing in the background is just as fitting as any pedal steel player, and I think at that point, um, I'm trying to think. I don't know if he had the Showbud console by then or not, where he had the 8 string and 7 string neck. But in the background of those shows, I mean, he was just fantastic. And I want to go back to see Diatonic. I want to explore it. I'll tell you a fun fact about my train of thought right now. So this is an old 6 string lap steel. This is my favorite, but it's a no name, no brand. I was told from the man I bought it from that his stepdad built it in a garage in Florida. Judging by the pickup and the stuff on it, it's old. I mean, I'm thinking probably maybe even 40s, but it's kind of my favorite. It don't even have a volume or tone knob. That's how simplistic I am. I don't even want any of that. But I'm thinking about getting Christopher Falk to build me a 7 string. I like to experiment a little, and I don't know if you're like this or not, but when it comes to looking at the strings, I get sidetracked if I have too many strings. I've tried to play 8 string tunings, which are fun. But my mind has really gotten in the 6 string market here, and it just kind of stuck. But I do have a lot of times where I'm like, I just need that one more string. And like with this tuning, what I would do is I would keep everything just the way it is, except I would interject a C sharp in there lower with the D, so I would be able to grab a minor chord or a 7th chord. Interchangeably within that tuning. So I would still have the high E and everything like that. Everybody says I need to add an F sharp on top. It would make some country licks easier, but I don't want to confuse myself. So I'm thinking about getting Christopher Falk to build a 7 string, and maybe try that. But that would also open the door if I wanted to try the diatonic tuning. But with this, I mean, it's just the kickoffs and stuff. You can get that pedal steel sound, or if you want to do some bottleneck sound and stuff like blues, Stay Away From Me. You can even get stuff like that. Steel guitar. I think Steel Guitar Rag may have been recorded in this tuning. So you can get all those old school sounds out of this tuning, but you can still get some. I think that's why this tuning's kind of put on the back burner, because a lot of people think it's just a very simple old tuning, and it is. But you can. You can still get yeah, you can still get a lot of cool stuff here. Um, so you're right. You can move C6 around, but like you said, you do. Um, I played C6 on this very guitar. I kept it in C6 for years, and I wanted so bad to grasp that tuning better. And I could play songs on it, but I didn't feel comfortable in it. Now I'll tell you something interesting. Let me show you this while we're just on the topic of randomness. This tuning you can also convert to a now you can actually take a pack of C6 strings and go to E7. The only one that's a problem, is your E string. I found that it can be a tad bit floppy from a C6 pack. Now this pack of strings come from Scotty's, which SIT, Stay in Tune, and they're a little heavier, just a little heavier. You can take this B11th. I have tuned a guitar to B11th, but I've never really dabbled with it. But you can take your top E string and lower it down to a D. And you take your G string, lower it down to a G. What we got now? We have got G6th. So you've heard of A6th. So this is down from that. This is G6, and that's just from lowering your top E to a D and your G sharp to a G. So you can do some cool stuff like that. And I mean, it's really easy. I almost wish I had one of those, the old triple X chord changer with the lever where you could flip it and, you could go back and forth between a couple tunings. I kind of wish I had one of those. Another tune-in that I would definitely love to know more about is the, I believe it's pronounced Levitt. I believe it was Bill Levitt tune-in, Levitt, which was, according to him, was supposed to be kind of an end-all, be-all of lap steel tune-ins. And it's kind of got some complicated ideology behind it, but I would like to know more. I have put it. Generally any of the popular tune-ins, but that don't mean I delved into them. Yep, this is just it's basically the same as A6. It's just tuned down a whole step. So what I did is I took my high E and dropped it down to a D, and then took my G sharp, which was my third string, dropped it down to a G. And again, to do that, it helps if you have a longer scale lap steel, because if you have a shorter scale lap steel, like say 22 and a half, it might be a little floppy. It'll still work, but it might be a little floppy. So if you're like me and you like your strings to be a little bit tight, and I do, I like them to kind of have a tighter feel, it helps to have a longer scale. But yep, just same as A6, just drop down. You can get all those cool sounds. No, you're not interrupting. That's why I do these. I like to chit chat about lap steel and all that. I mean, but this, I did not realize how versatile it was to take an E7th pack and be able to just kind of move it around a little bit. Which from a C6 pack of strings, you can go to A6, and I mean technically, I think I could take this pack to a A6, but it is a little thicker. So I haven't experimented a whole lot with that. I've kind of been focused on the E bass just because it's more familiar to me. I wish I did play Hawaiian. I love that sound. I have always been a country player. I play some popular tunes. Like earlier I delved into a little bit of What a Wonderful World. But I have never played Hawaiian, and I want to so bad. I wish that I wish I had more time to delve into lap steel. I wish I could do it full time. But Hawaiian's a beautiful sound. Yeah, it's. Oh, where do I get my strings? So, that's kind of a loaded question. Um, I buy them from the cheapest retailer. I um I mean, I like to be consistent where I get them, and I like to support small business when I can. But unfortunately, the shipping has gotten rough. So when I buy them now, I try to buy 3 or 4 packs at a time or more. So I I bought my last pack from the Steel Guitar Forum store, and I bought it from them because their shipping was slightly less than I believe it was just strings.com, which great folks do business with on either platform. But I have noticed though that there is not from Scotty's, the strings that they carried sometimes are getting a little limited, and that kind of scares me a little bit. I'm not sure if after his passing, if maybe the line that he promoted is just not pushed as much. But I have noticed that his strings seem like every time I look, especially when I'm looking for an odd tuning, they can be a little limited. So I'm not really sure what's happening there. I do buy them from just strings.com. I buy them from Steel Guitar Forum store. Unfortunately, I don't have any music stores. Um, I I don't know. I know after his passing, I think somebody kept it open for a while, but I want to say that it finally closed, and I'm not. Yep, in St. Louis there, which of course is where they held the big international steel conventions. Um, I'm pretty sure they're closed up now, which is a shame because he was kind of the glue that held the steel guitar world together with his the International Steel Guitar Convention and all that. I mean, but after his passing, I believe it folded. Now you've got some great steel guitar stores that still exist. You've got Jim Palanskar out in California, and which I always like to look at his website to see what he's got for sale. You got Billy Cooper's in I believe it's Orange, West Virginia. He's been there a long time. Um, you got Hummingbird Music, which I think they're in Ohio, and they're not a steel guitar exclusive store, but they do a lot of steel guitar business. And of course, all those. Well, I don't know about Billy Cooper's, but Hummingbird has a Facebook page. I miss Bobby Seymour's in Hendersonville, Tennessee. I love Bobby and his newsletters he would come out with, and just him being Bobby Seymour. I miss that. Are there others? Let's see. I mean, I know I run across every now and then, a store that'll have, some steel guitar stuff, but it's kind of rare to find one that carries strings. Um, I was in a music store in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, a few weeks ago, Counts Brothers Music, and they had oddly had several lap steels. It's rare that I go in a music store anywhere in the South and they have steel guitars, but they did. They had several lap steels for sale, and they were all pretty reasonably priced. But I tried not to. I tried to refrain. See, with a longer scale, it's easier to get chimes, which I like that. It's just a nice thing to throw in there. Oh, I haven't. I have not heard about that. I know. I think the only similar thing I've heard of, there's a group in I want to say they're around Nashville that call themselves the Steel Guitar Arts Council. Maybe I think there's an Instagram page for them, and they're pretty much I think all pedal steel, country, honky tonk. And I kind of delved into that for a minute, watching some of their stuff. But now that you mention that, I have not seen. I don't think I've seen any videos from them lately, but that is fascinating. Winchester, Indiana. I will have to look that up, and it's the Aloha International Steel Guitar. I will have to look that up. Back in the day, there was a lot of Hawaiian steel guitar groups in the north, and I believe a lot were in Indiana. Where was it? The Harlan brothers were they in Indiana? Maybe that built the multi-chord, and they taught Hawaiian music classes. I always thought that was the wildest thing that you had. Random places in the U.S. You would have a group of 50 kids come together and take Hawaiian steel guitar lessons. I could just imagine being in a cold, a state with a lot of cold winter, and you're sitting in there playing these warm, Hawaiian sounds, and it's snowing outside. I always thought that was the funniest thing, but I'll have to check them out. Um, I I will tell you that I've been playing steel for uh, off and on for probably about 12 or 13 years, and I was thinking the other day, all the people that are no longer around that were around when I started. A lot of those older guys are gone, and it's unreal how small it feels like it's gotten. I know there's still a lot of development. There's still new companies, new guitars being built, but from the time I got into this, just about, and just about everybody um, has went on. It's there's so many players that just um, you know I wish they were still around. A lot of steel guitar shows. There used to be a show close to me in Fulton, Mississippi, Steel Guitar Jam. There's one in Gulfport, Mississippi. I've never been to. I wish. Again, it's a time thing. I need to be. I want to travel more this year, and I would love to go to some steel guitar shows. I don't think any of them are too far. If I would just make the effort to go, just set aside a weekend, just say, what, I'm taking off on Friday. I'm gonna go play some steel guitar. I could do it. I work a lot, and which you got to these days. Music's a bad habit too. Music takes up a lot of money. Here I am talking about having Christopher Fout build a new guitar, so it's expensive. But I will remember that. I would love to stay and chat longer. I've actually got to hop off here and do some stuff. I've got. I mentioned I work a lot. I'm a full-time graduate student too, and I'm getting like dangerously close to finishing. So we'll continue this. How about that? And also, if you go to my YouTube channel, my email is in there. It's showbudplayer77@gmail.com. Feel free to shoot me an email. I'd love to stay in touch. I love, as you can tell, I love to talk about this stuff. I could talk all night, but I got to go check on some homework modules. So, but thanks for tuning in, man. I love the chat. I love it. But like I said, shoot me an email and we'll talk tune-ins and all that fun stuff. But till next time, I'll catch you later.